What's up, everybody? Bike Builder Bear in the house, and this is just a follow-up video to my most recent video about switching your carburetor on a 212 or 125 or any of the horizontal motors out there. Why I don't use an adapter plate, and the reasoning why I'm going about the way I'm going to put my intakes on. And this video should explain it. Okay, this video will probably resonate with people that have done something similar with an adapter plate like this, which works. They work, and I can't say anything about performance negativity or anything like this or that because I have not ran one of those. But let me get my dry erase board and I will show you the reasons why I prefer not to use that style and why I came up and how I came up with the intake modification that I'm doing. And then you could judge for yourself. So let's check this out. Okay, so let me first explain why I decided to not use the 360 rotating flange. And like I said, I can't knock it because I've used it. I'm just saying what I don't like about the application of it because of some things that I recognize right away. Now, I'm not trying to exaggerate this. It's not a big thing, but here's a dry erase. You know, say this is the head. You know, this is just simple so you get a simple idea of what's going on. When you have the head port, okay, which on my bikes, I port them out. I take a die grinder and I port them out and I open them up to the biggest diameter of the gasket and the intake and everything to where you get the biggest opening and the biggest, smoothest transfer. Now, the red plate, you know, the 360 plate, it not majorly, but I know by the way that it's made, it's going to have a step. There's going to be an area, you know, down here, right here in these corners, right here and up here, where it steps, where it goes from one diameter to another diameter, and that creates turbulent pockets, and that also gathers droplets of fuel that will gather, like a drop will gather on the edge and the rim, and then it'll shoot down. Does all kinds of weird things. Now, I'm not saying that that makes the performance shitty. I'm not saying that it's bad for your bike. It's just, I know at a finer tuning level, when you have steps like that, you interfere with the flow. Like, there will be swirling air in these corners where the air is supposed to be shooting straight through. There's steps, and it basically kind of look like one and then another, and then behind it opened up even more. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like steps, like walking up steps. What would roll down a hill better? Or what would a ball roll down smoother and more efficiently? Down a bunch of steps, or would it roll down just a straight incline? Which would be faster? Which would be more efficient? The straight incline. So I'm not talking trash. I'm just saying this is my thinking why I wanted to come up with something different than everybody else is doing on the bikes. But this is where I got my idea, is turbos and intakes with sleeves, and the way that they eliminate steps and they try to make it as free flowing as possible. I got some examples here to show you what I'm talking about. Here's a piece of the aluminum tubing that I used off that 90-degree bend for the 112, and as you can see, there's very little step. Now, on the ones that I put on the 212, I actually sanded and grinded the edges to where they actually go out. They swoop out, kind of like this intake that I ended up taking some off to make another intake on another totally different project. And all this is older stuff from my past, you know what I mean? But as you can see how I ported that out, and I didn't even finish it off because I ended up just scavenging the top for this for another project. But that's the way I do all my intakes in stuff. So when you see what I've done here on the 125 and the 212, that's my logic. Could it be done with the plates and other intakes? Yes, it can. I've even seen some pretty decent tuck setups where and let me show you this. I've seen some pretty decent intake manifolds with some tight tucks and stuff like that. Like there's one where the intake manifold literally comes up and goes like that, and the carburetor mounts on right here, you know, cable coming out. Now the problem with that is if you have too aggressive of a bend, you're gonna shoot gasoline and it's gonna wad here and then it's gonna drip down and run. Guaranteed. Now it may affect performance on a little motor like this, it may not. I'd rather save that gas, because even if you could tune it out, you're gonna get a stream of gas and you're gonna overconsume gas, and it's gonna be tricky most likely to tune it when you've got those. And I've seen these little tight tucked little snake intakes, and that's another reason why I only went with one 90-degree bend. I only want one 90-degree. I want as little confliction as possible, because these motors aren't super suckers. They don't pull tons of air, and you need to affect the air as less as possible and let the motor do what it's doing. Let the compressor that the motor is do what it's doing. If you could let it freely without forcing or anything, let it gulp as much air as possible and then freely let it out, but in a cycle with compression, you get the most power. So that's why I haven't done a snake or tried one of those really tight intakes, and I've gone in the direction that I've gone because I wanted to try something that high performance guys are doing. My mind seen some parts out there and said, hey, if I take those sleeves and some of this and some of that, I can make this happen. And here's another example. Like I scavenged an intake, and this is kind of where it started. Is just a large bend intake, and I ended up, you know, trimming that out, making sure it has a lip to where it grabs correctly. But when this sits on there and you have the sleeve and the plate right there, it just goes straight down smooth and into the head where my heads are ported, my valves are ported, so it's just a smooth ride all the way in. Take it for what it's worth, but that's why I went the way that I went. If anybody's got any other great ideas out there, make some videos, give me some comments. Have a good day, guys. God bless. And look at this. Stock reservoir, stock rear master cylinder, stock brake line before, and voila, abracadabra.